The man who discovered azochloramide, Franz Schmelkes, he was born August 19th, 1899. So Franz Schmelkes discovered azochloramide. It's used to sterilize wounds. And he was born today, so that's worthy of celebration. That's number 9. Number 8, 1960, Korabl Sputnik 2 launches with 2 dogs, 40 mice, 2 rats, and a bunch of plants on board. Number 7, 1561. These are all August 19th dates, all August 19th events. 1561, Mary, Queen of Scots, 18, returns to Scotland via Leith to claim her throne. Number 6, 1745, Iran, Persia defeats the Ottoman Imperial Army at the Battle of Kars, Turkey, obliterates them, stops imperialism. 1745, August 19th. August 19th, 1934, Chevrolet sponsored the first All-American Soapbox Derby held in Dayton, Ohio. Soapbox Derby, that is All-American kind of bullshit. If a Soapbox Derby isn't All-American, I don't know what isn't. Wait, what? 1920, the Tambov Rebellion, opposed to the Bolsheviks stealing farm goods. It erupts. 1920, the Tambov Rebellion. What, you're going to steal a bunch of poor farmers' foods and grains and their farm goods? Hell no. Hell no, we're not going to allow that. The Tambov Rebellion. 1871, Orville Wright in Dayton, Ohio, one of the 2 brothers to fly the first airplane ever. Flyer is born. Orville Wright is born. So this is National Aviation Day. Number 2, 1782, Battle of Blue Licks, Kentucky, 300 natives, Shawnee, Mingo, Wyandotte, and Gertie rout the colonists. Battle of Blue Licks, 1782. Orville Wright, born in 1871, and then the number 1 event for August 19th, 1947, Ahrens and Dorp, 2 Dutch scientists synthesize vitamin A fat-soluble retinol, which is essential for vision. So make sure you eat some liver. Apparently there's a lot of vitamin A in liver and leafy vegetables and cantaloupe and dairy products. So drink your milk, get some ice cream, and yeah, make sure you eat your cantaloupe. So that's, vitamin A today. Merry Vitamin A Day. Merry Vitamin A Day, America. August 19th. So those are the top 9 events, and then we'll go into some of them in a little bit more detail. Now I want to talk about the honorable mentions because those are important. Some other scientists that were born today. Alan Baker, he was born in 1939. Johann Gottlieb Gahn, he was born in 1745. And then John Flamsteed, 1646. Gahn did something with mining and smelting, mining and smelting, the science around mining and smelting. And Alan Baker did something with the Diophantine, pi, transcendental number theory, circle to square, I don't know. Alan Baker, Johann Gottlieb and Gahn, Johann Gottlieb Gahn, John Flamsteed, and Alan Baker. There was a STS-85 Discovery 23. There's a mission for 12 days. 6 Americans launched from the Kennedy Space Center, Florida. A big experiment was the Krista Spaz, a free flyer which had various telescopes. It looks like, they had a bunch of fancy equipment and shit, so it seems like it could be possibly something interesting. That happened in 1997, so it's also one of the more recent space exploration things that we've done. 1998, Desmond Tutu, he revealed docs at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that revealed that the CIA and the M15 and Samir, SAIMR, plotted to kill Hammers Cajoled. Hammers Cajoled is a Swedish the United Nations president, a Swedish, he was the president of the United Nations, and he was Swedish, and he went into Africa, and then this plane blew up. He was going to go negotiate, and there's a lot of talk about how the mining interests, there were a bunch of rich people that had his plane blown up. And Desmond Tutu at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is a very important commission, in 1998, Desmond Tutu, he's the one that says that you cannot be neutral in situations of injustice. If the elephant is stepping on the mouse's tail and you're neutral, how does the mouse feel? So the South American Institute for Maritime Research, Alan Dulles, you know, these are, 1961 is when that Hammers cajoled, the Secretary General Dag, old Dag, Hammers cajoled. South African, British, American Secret Services may have been involved in that, so that's, what? But that didn't make the cut. And then also in 1996, Clarence McWeetu testifies to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that the PAC, the Pan-Africanist Congress, wanted a non-racial socialist democratic society. So the ANC and PAC were both lovers of peace, freedom, democracy, fought against imperialism and colonialism. They wanted to overthrow white supremacy and establish a non-racial Africanist socialist democratic society. So McWeetu traced the imprisonment of Robert Sobukwe, a PAC leader. So he's like, hey, PAC is just like the ANC. The ANC, the PAC, it's all the same stuff. So South Africa, I don't talk about South Africa enough. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission is what Trevor Noah had recommended for America, because he said South Africa was forced to confront their racism, and therefore a conversation was forced. And he recommended that for us. So, you know, who knows what the future may hold, but those did not make the cut. They didn't make the cut. What did make the cut? Well, the top 9, right, you got vitamin A. Hell yeah, you need vitamin A. Without vitamin A, you're going to die, right? You're not even going to go blind. It's essential for vision. You need vitamin A. Battle of Blue Licks. The Battle of Blue Licks happened after the Battle of Yorktown. What the hell is going on? Here, 10 months after the Battle of Yorktown, we're told in, our schools, in American authoritarian government schools, that the revolution ended at the Battle of Yorktown, and then, the Treaty of Paris, and then it was all said and done. But apparently there's another battle, the Battle of Blue Licks, and it's got a bunch of, the revolutionaries, but they're against the Native Americans, 300 Native Americans and a couple loyalists, Shawnee, Mingo, Wyandotte, bunch of natives. Also Simon Girty and his brother was there too, and they rout the colonists, beat the shit out of the so-called revolutionaries. This is, this battle here should tell you a lot to, what you need to know about the American Revolution. Yeah, on the Eastern Theater, it might have been overthrown the British, but in the Western Theater, it was clear who's going to steal the land of the Native Americans. Is the British going to steal the land, or is it going to be the Americans? Who's going to steal their land? And so that's why you had so many Shawnee, Mingo, Wyandotte, and Simon Girty was out there fighting past, the so-called end of the American Revolution. Airplane, flying, Orville Wright, you can't fuck with flying, right? It's awesome, it's great technology, it's flying, it's aspirational. 1871, so that's only 6 years after the American Civil War was concluded. That's when Orville Wright is going to be born. And then 20, 30 years later, he's inventing airplanes. What did you do in your 20s and 30s? You invent an airplane? Well, you need to get on it. Orville Wright is passing you up. 1920, the Tambo Rebellion. I already told you all these, so I guess I'll just read the top 20, and then I'll talk about the few that I, want to talk about in some detail. So, number 20, yeah, we'll go 20 on up. Sure, I like that. That's fine, right? No. 10 on down. So in 1895, terrible John Hardin is killed in a saloon in El Paso, Texas by John Henry Selman. In 2013, August 19th, 24 cops are killed by RPG in attack in Rafah, by unknown Sinai Peninsula militants. 1982, the Soyuz T-7 launches with Svetlana Savtizkaya, the second woman in space. She's being blasted off in 1982, same year that I was born. 1958, NAACP Youth Council begins sit-ins at a segregated Oklahoma City lunch counter. That's what they had to do in order to get integration, the sit-ins. It's just 1909, the first Indy 500 race on the new Indy 500 track happens for the first time ever. 1854, Red Cloud and Company. This is the Sioux. They killed 31 Imperials at the Grattan Rebellion in Wyoming for Conquering Bear. They killed Conquering Bear. And so what the fuck was Red Cloud and Company supposed to do? They killed Conquering Bear. They're just supposed to say, well, shit, you killed our chief anyways. Have a nice day. No, Red Cloud wasn't having it. So in 1854, he instigates the Grattan Rebellion, Gratten, the Grattan Rebellion in present-day Wyoming. 2004, Michael Phelps wins the gold medal in the 200-meter individual medley at Athens Olympics. Apparently, Michael Phelps is the greatest Olympian that's ever. He's got more, he's more decorated, more gold medals. He's, this awesome swimmer. But the major distinction that I like Michael Phelps, just think about how he pushed the legalization of marijuana movement. He's the most decorated Olympian, and he's a pothead. He smokes marijuana. So he's winning all these gold medals, right, for America in 2004, and he's smoking marijuana to maintain his, cool. So Michaal Phelps is just a walking embodiment of all the bullshit that people want to say that, turns your, toes into claws and gives you a tail and, makes you hallucinate and whatever fucking bullshit that people, it can make you into a Michael Phelps. So, you heard it from here, right? Everybody, make sure you go smoke some marijuana. You'll become an Olympian just like Michael Phelps. 1944, the liberation of Paris, Maastricht in India. Cops strike Omar Bernard Pole's Normandy. There's actually a lot of shit that happened. It's World War II. The liberation of Paris. Also, Maastricht is going to get bombed, air-raided by the Allies. That's a Dutch city. In India, the Japanese are going to get kicked out of India. In Paris, there's a cop strike that helped with the liberation of Paris. Omar Bradley, he's going to meet up with this Bernard Montgomery, and then the Poles are going to invade Normandy. That's 1718, 1989. Hundreds of East Germans attend the Pan-European picnic in Hungary. 1964, Syncom 3 covered with 3840 P-on-N silicone cells is launched from Cape Kennedy. And in 1979, Lyakov and Ryumin returned to Earth on Soyuz 34 after a record 175 days in space. How many days in space you ever been? Not 175 days. So, a couple of the events let's talk about in a little bit of detail. So, first off, I want to talk about the Battle of Blue Licks. So, the Battle of Blue Licks is in Kentucky, and like I said, it was past, right, the American Revolution. So, what the hell is going on? Right, so you have, Native Americans, and it wasn't just the Delaware, the Mingos and Shawnees. You had Delawares, Miamis, Ottawas, Ojibwas, Potawatomis. It was mostly natives, 300 natives, 50 loyalists. There was Alexander McKee, William Caldwell, but Simon Girty, George Girty, right? Not James, but Simon and George was there. Daniel Boone was there. Shitty Hugh McGarry was there, too, and the colonizers are going to lose. It's at the Licking River near Spring and Salt Lick. The battle is, fought after the so-called battle, last battle of Yorktown. And, they're going to say they got ambushed, but it's wartime, and they were chasing them, and actually Daniel Boone said, hey, this looks like an ambush, but Hugh McGarry, that vicious piece of shit, savage motherfucker, he wanted to kill, he was bloodthirsty. Nobody was listening to him, so he just stormed across the creek, splashing and carrying on, shouting, hey, those people that aren't cowards, you better follow me. And then, they all followed him, and Daniel Boone was like, we're all slaughtered men. He whispered to himself, he's going to live, but his son, 23-year-old Israel Boone, is going to get killed. Thomas Boone, Daniel's nephew, is killed. Squire Boone is going to turn into an invalid because of the shot in the hip. So Thomas Boone, Squire Boone, Israel Boone. Hugh McGarry is the same person that kills Maloontha. Maloontha is a Shawnee warrior, a Shawnee chief. He had an American flag in his hand. He had a peace treaty in his hand. And then, this hothead, piece of shit, Hugh McGarry was like, were you there at the Battle of Blue Licks? What are you talking about? Maloontha doesn't know, but he's just kind of smiling like, yeah, sure, I'll be your friend. And Hugh McGarry, being, a hothead and pretending everybody knows English, just murders him. He just freaking kills him. He also once killed a native, fed it to his dogs. And Tecumseh, he's going to mention the killing of Maloontha. Maloontha had an American flag and a peace treaty. I don't think you can get more disgusting and more despicable than that. My God, he's an American on your side. Here's the treaty that I've signed with you. You don't care. You're killing the leader of a nation. That's, an assassination. That's the Maloontha. So, the Battle of Blue Licks, Hugh McGarry is the one that did it. He should have been court-martialed, thrown out of the, service. He fucked up big time. And the natives only lost 3 people. About 70 to 80 Kentuckians are going to get killed. Daniel killed 1 native. I once heard, Daniel Boone brag about that. He never killed a Native American ever in his life. Battle of Blue Licks, it sounded pretty bloody and vicious, so it seems pretty obvious that Daniel Boone had killed, a Native American. So these white supremacists, colonizing, imperialist invaders are going to get, their ass handed to them. There's 170 total of the colonizers, and 70 of them are going to get killed. So it's like 40 to 50%. And so this is a great victory for Simon Girty, big victory for the Shawnees, Delawares, Mingos, Wyandottes, Miamis, Ottawas, Ojibwas, and the Potawatomis. So congratulations to the Shawnee. August 19th, 1782. Today is your day. Now, the first full synthesis for vitamin A was found by Dutch chemist Joseph Ferdinand Arends and David Adrian von Dorp. Later on, some other team by Isler. Isler is going to synthesize vitamin A with a method more suitable for large quantities. So it's like, okay, you did this, you synthesized it, but, we made it better. We had a better synthesization. Now, the Ottoman-Persian Wars end. The Ottoman, this is just a complete and utter destruction of the Ottoman Empire, the last triumph of Nader Shah. You had several hundred East Germans across the frontier between Hungary and Austria during the Pan-European picnic. It's part of the events that brought down the Berlin Wall. Vitamin A is needed by the retina of the eye in the form of retinol, which combines protein opsin to the form rhodopsin, the light-absorbing molecule necessary for both low-light, scotopic vision, and color vision. The first powered airplane capable of sustained controlled flight. National Aviation Day because of Orville Wright's birthday. Now I want to talk about the John Wesley Hardin is just this terrible criminal. He's going to be depicted in Hollywood over and over again, and he's killed by John Henry Selman, a constable in a saloon in El Paso, Texas. Seems justified, seems, pretty clear-cut and dry case. Now, John Wesley Hardin, he's an outlaw, he's a murderer. He killed a man when he was 15 years old, apparently in self-defense. He's going to get convicted only, 8 years later in 1877 when he's only 23 and he's going to get 24 years in prison for murder. He claimed to have killed 42 men. Newspapers corroborated 27. They also said that John Wesley Hardin is so mean, he once killed a man for snoring too loud. So John Wesley Hardin studied law, wrote an autobiography while in prison. Out of prison, he was killed by John Henry Selman the Elder in an El Paso saloon. So John Hardin had killed a lot of folks. He gets out of prison in his 40s, and he starts out with John Selman Jr., an El Paso lawman. He's going to arrest Hardin's mistress, not his wife, but the fuck buddy on his side, right, Beulah Morose, for brandishing a gun in public. So that's all legit, right? But of course, Hardin's a goddamn hothead, right? So he's going to get all pissed off. A gun should be holstered. You pull a gun out. Well, that's just a dangerous move. So far, it's good on John Henry Selman Jr. John Hardin gets all pissed off. You're going to fuck with my mistress like that? You're going to, well, you should pull the gun out. What do you want me to do? Don't you dare. That's my mistress. And he takes the gun, John Hardin does, and pistol whips the shit out of John Henry Selman Jr. and threatens his life. Just like in Goodfellas, right? Just, pistol whips the shit out of that neighbor and then says, you better, cut it out. Hey, you better cut it out. And, apparently this isn't going to settle the matter. So John Hardin is mean, but apparently John Henry Selman Jr.'s father is even meaner. John Hardin, the serial killer, he goes and he's playing dice at the Acme Saloon. Shortly before midnight, Constable John Selman the elder comes in and attempts to arrest Hardin. He draws his gun at the door, walked up to Hardin, put the gun to the back of his head, and Hardin goes for his gun. Selman shoots, kills him. John Henry puts 3 more bullets into Hardin as he was on the floor just to make sure, he's over and done with. Selman was tried for murder, but a hung jury resulted in his release on bond, pending retrial. The retrial never happened because Selman's going to get killed himself by George Scarborough after an argument about a card game. So 1953, The Lawless Breed. That's about John Hardin's life. Hardin's played by Rock Hudson. 1951, he's played by John Dehner in the Texas Rangers by Jack Elam. In 1970, Dirty Dingus McGee. Roger Ebert hated it. 1994, Maverick by Max Perlich. So, yeah, piece of shit got, what was coming to him. A piece of shit got his due. Now, you have 1854, Conquering Bear. He's going to get killed by American troops for an alleged stolen cow. And you're going to kill the chief of the tribe? What is happening? August 19th, 1854 is the Grattan Rebellion. Red Cloud is there. Conquering Bear was there. This starts the First Sioux War. Fort Laramie, Nebraska Territory, present-day Goshen County, Wyoming. 31 U.S. soldiers are going to get killed, and 2 Sioux are going to get killed. Now, this begins when the U.S. soldiers want to arrest a Sioux for the stealing of a cow. Instead, Chief Conquering Bear, they killed him, and they shot him in the back. The Brule Lakotas are then going to kill Lieutenant John L. Grattan and a civilian interpreter plus 29 soldiers after a nervous soldier fired first and killed the Sioux first. So Conquering Bear, he bent over backwards. They just weren't, High Forehead is the one that apparently took the cow. Now the cow wanders off. High Forehead thought it was his. Apparently it was some Mormon traveling along the Oregon Trail and killed by a visiting Mimi Kanju, a Sioux named High Forehead. And then the French Indian interpreter. So this whole thing is just so fucked, okay? So you have High Forehead, got the cow, killed the cow. And let's assume, give them the benefit of the doubt. He shouldn't have done that. Well, what would pay for a cow? Well, how about another cow? Eye for an eye. That wasn't good enough. Well, then Conquering Bear says, well, how about a horse, right? I'll give you a cow, I'll give you a horse. What do you want? They wanted money. They wanted $25, and they wanted High Forehead arrested. This is John L. Grattan. He's like, nope, I don't want a horse. I don't want a cow. I want some money. Pay me for my property, and give me the man who did it. Give me High Forehead. And, the Conquering Bear just wasn't going to do it. But John Grattan, he intended to have a fight with the Indians. He wanted to get High Forehead arrested at all costs. So when Conquering Bear said no, he said, he had no jurisdiction over him, which he didn't. The local Indian agent did, which was John Whitfield. But, John L. Grattan, he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about the Treaty of 1851. He just graduated from West Point. He's an Indian-hating, hot-headed newbie. You got 4,000 Oglala and Brule camped all around, but, John L. Grattan thinks it's a fucking good idea to start this shit. Right, he's the one that started this shit. And when they went in there, the French Indian interpreter, the Lucien Auguste, he's going to call the natives a bunch of women, saying that the soldiers were not there to talk, but they were going to kill everybody. And so the whole thing is just, fucked from start to finish. In the very beginning, I mean, Conquer and Bear offered, plenty of restitution, but they just wanted too much. And they are going to be the ones that killed the Sioux first. They killed a man first. So John L. Grattan, they drew first blood. And I don't know why they call it the Grattan Rebellion, name it after him. If anything, it should be the Conquer and Bear Rebellion. But August 19th, 1854, they killed, Conquer and Bear. They killed a Sioux for no reason. They're going above and beyond. This guy is pretending he's got, cop authority, which he has no police authority at all. And then they're insulting them. The French Indian interpreter is sitting there calling them women and shit. So part of me wonders if maybe he was trying to warn them, and then it got, mixed up. But why call the natives, you guys are a bunch of women? Doesn't make any sense. Vitamin A is essential for the immune function, vision, reproduction, and cellular communication. So, John Wesley Hardin, right? John Wesley Hardin was a piece of shit. Now, married Queen of Scots, she was not. She's young, beautiful, widow. She's 18 years of age, goes to Scotland via Leith to claim her crown, to assume the throne after her husband had died. She had spent 13 years in France. She was basically the Queen of France. So, married Queen of Scots is the Queen of France, goes to Scotland because she was born to James V, and he's going to die, and she became queen when she was 6 days old. And then they're going to hide her, protect her, and then she's going to get just old enough, and she's going to have James the Fourth, who is going to be King James of the King James Bible, who brings Scotland and England together. And typically, I can't stand these royal, I can't stand kings and queens and royalist, bullshit. But married Queen of Scots, her entire life is just like she's barely born, dad dies, so she's barely alive. And then she gives, birth to a kid, and she's barely alive. She gets killed, and then he's barely alive, and then he, becomes king. So it's like, shit. And they're just barely holding on to, the tiny bit of blood lineage to the throne. And they're legit. It's the reason why Elizabeth is going to kill Mary Queen of Scots. But just imagine, on this day, August 19th, 1561, Mary Queen of Scots arrives back to Scotland. Now she's the Queen of Scots, right? How can you be a queen of a land you don't even occupy? But now she is back in Scotland. She's back, and she's ready to kick some ass and take some names. So watch out. Mary Queen of Scots is on a rise. Okay, so what else are we doing here? We have the Karabel Sputnik 2. You had all those animals. This space program, the Karabel Sputnik 2, August 19th, 1960, this is the first time the animals are going to be returned alive from orbit. So 2 dogs, Belka and Strelka, they're going to go up and they're going to come back. They put monkeys, they killed a lot of animals, right? This is an actual program where the animals come back. The first one, after one day, shot them out into space. They go around Earth. One day in orbit, then the spaceship's retro rocket was fired, and the landing capsule returns to Earth August 20th, 1960, one day later. So this just gives you an indication that plants and animals can live in space, perhaps. Humans can live in space, too. What else is happening? You have the liberation of Paris, World War II. So this is 1944, big day. Lots of things actually happen on this day. The U.S. 15th Army Corps occupies Mantes Cassicourt at Paris. U.S. 90th Polish 1st Division occupy Chamboy, Normandy, Hill 262, Mont Ormel, and Omar Bradley visits the British General Bernard Montgomery, all 1944, all the same day. So what else? CENTCOM 3, they got all those P-on-N silicon cells, that's solar power. Again, nickel, cadmium, rechargeable batteries provided power when the spacecraft was in the Earth's shadow. Just a complicated piece of machinery. What did you do? 1964. It's like, give me something more of your successes. NASA needs to market themselves way better. They do all this awesome shit, but they're not really passing out all the information, you know, freely to the world of all the stuff that they're discovering. So what else? Michael Phelps, Red Cloud. Have I covered everything? Tambov Rebellion, the Bolshevik